I want to first ask you a very simple question, and this goes to all three of you. How are you going to rate the state of the economy today in one word? Is it healthy? Is it strong? Is it optimistic? Is it reassuring? Is it alarming? Is it dire? Is it shaky? Is it sick? You can use your own words, but Shamika, why don't you start first and tell me what's the one word that you think defines the Indian economy today?
I'd say, given the gradient that you have, and I'll stick to your gradient, I'd say optimistic.
You're optimistic about the Indian economy. Okay, we'll ask you why in a moment. Roopa?
Okay, so we justify later.
Yeah, you can justify it later, but give me that one word that you think defines the Indian economy today.
Okay, so my word out of your list would be shake-a-mistic. Shaky and optimistic.
Shake-a-mistic. Okay, so that's that's a bit of a balancing act, but we live with that. Ritu?
Very difficult, but none of the words which you've chosen. So what I would say is imploding. Okay, so it's like an imploding state of being.
Okay, so that's three very different verdicts. Optimistic to imploding is the entire extreme that we have. I'm going to ask you first, since you've given the most controversial word, imploding. You believe that the Indian economy is imploding. Tell me in 1 minute why you think the Indian economy is imploding.
1 minute is very difficult, and anyway, I'll try, but my issue, and I just want to say that very clearly, that I'm not romanticizing the past or demonizing the present. But whatever one has seen over the past maybe 10 years and past few years, if you want to restrict that kind of a debate, is a movement from deprivation to destitution. I see that where the majority of the people are concerned, and deprivation at many, many different levels. The destitution component at even more multiple levels when we talk of the majority of the people, the population, the workers, the migrants, women, of course, very, very much so. And also an increasing level of deprivation, I think, where the private sector is concerned, and a deprivation from a non-enabling environment of increasing your returns on your investment. And added to this, of course, I would say a sort of a policy paralysis.
Are you saying that we are more unequal today than we were 10 years ago?
Oh, very much so. I think if you see your global hunger index, we've come down on that. The issue of environment, the issue of income inequality, wealth inequality, I think that is something which is very much so. And very much real wages, whether it's for the urban workers or it is for the rural workers.
Shamika, you've got imploding on one side and the rising income inequalities as Ritu sees it, versus you claiming that you're optimistic even in an age where most people that one speaks to seem a little down on the economy. So why are you optimistic?
Well, Rajdeep, I think sometimes we get so stuck in the moment that we lose sight of what is fundamentally right with this economy. It's a young economy. It's a growing. It's a very large. It's one of the largest economies and still in the realm of fast-growing economy. You know, this country has reduced poverty, absolute poverty, now to a single digit. And I think sometimes we lose the objectivity because we're so stuck on, and it's important, by the way. I'm not saying we shouldn't be stuck on specific aspects, because this is very much a work in progress. There are many things still to do. But I think on the whole, just given the demographics, given the aspirations, given the trend, I would say, over the last 28 years, there's no other feeling I can possibly have than optimism.
Is the optimism also in some way biased? Is the optimism in some way colored by the fact that you're part of the Prime Minister's Economic Advisory Council? As part of the primary, because you are telling me it's optimistic. Another member of the Prime Minister's Economic Advisory Council, Ratin Roy, has gone on record saying we're facing a deep structural crisis. So how do you, in some way balance these two very contrarian views from the Prime Minister's Economic Advisory Council? And what does this Economic Advisory Council do? Because the message that we get is that there is no real advice that the Prime Minister takes on the economy.
Well, I definitely give my advice. we are in a slowdown, there's no denying that. But whether we're in a crisis, I wouldn't go as far as mentioning, crisis as a word. We are in a slowdown, and there are two elements to the slowdown. One is the short term, what we call a cyclical, because of many factors. And that, to a great extent, has to do with managing the expectations and basically getting the fundamentals in terms of policy announcements right. The second is structural, because when you say structural, it means how do we increase the potential of the economy? Cyclical is about attaining the current potential. And I think that is the work in progress right now, managing expectations, the liquidity in the markets, and everything else that the FM right now is working on. But the structural part, what Ratan says, I actually agree with it. In fact, the two of us believe that India does have a structural concern, because I don't think we are anywhere close to the potential that this economy has. So in that sense, we are saying the same thing, but I definitely have reason to believe that if we do certain things right and within a given time frame, the potential for this economy is enormous.